Hello, welcome back to Steeple City Social. Thank you, I'm Andrew Fitch. I'm one of the owners of Steeple City Social. We do these community conversation events on Wednesdays, twice a month. The whole idea here, and this has started just a few months ago, but the whole idea is to bring in interesting people who live in or right around North Adams to talk about the interesting things they're doing in or right around North Adams. And so I know several of the people on the Hoosac River Revival Board. I've been in cahoots with them before, I've rafted rivers with them before. They're awesome people and they're able to tell really interesting stories because they're doing really interesting things that benefit our community. So I was really excited to welcome them as our, sixth speakers for our sixth event. It's something like number 6. We will be doing this for about an hour's time. That includes audience questions, so we definitely want audience engagement. So please do feel free to chime in and ask questions. Honestly, anytime throughout. This is meant to be informal, but especially at the end, and I can bring around a microphone or not, so that you can chime in as well. One thing that we're doing tonight for the first time is recording this. This is for Northern Berkshire Community Television Corporation. They're going to broadcast this after the fact on YouTube and I think also on their channels. You folks do not have to be, and also will not be, in the camera at all. It'll just be the presenters. And the presenters are wearing microphones right now, so they will be heard on camera. You will not. So if you want to be heard on camera or something, flag me down. I'll try to bring a microphone to you, but otherwise we'll just kind of run through the presentation, record that, and then allow a free flow of questions so you don't have to worry about anything about being recorded. Without any further introduction, let me get you started with the presenters here. So we have Kristen and we have Nancy from the Hoosic River Revival Board. Would one of you want to come up first, or do you want to come up at the same time?
Yeah, same time.
Same time? Cool. So these two have been, long-time contributors to this board and have done really interesting things to boost the river, to find ways to restore the river, to protect the river, to protect our residents from the river, and are just doing awesome things, and they're awesome people. So thanks for your work, you two, and take it away. And maybe as you're speaking, you could hand this microphone around too, just in case anybody can't hear you in the back.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll take it first since I'm introducing us. So I'm Kristen, this is Nancy, and we're both on the board and on the executive committee of Hoosic River Revival, which was founded in 2008 to research enhancements to the river. So the idea was that the chutes, which run through our downtown, they're not accessible. A lot of people think they're ugly, and the idea was to make sure we had flood control, but fix them up in a way that they were an asset to the city instead of an eyesore. So the chutes were built by the Army Corps of Engineers in the 1950s to help prevent flooding. As I think most people know, there were a lot of bad floods throughout history. There were maybe every 5 to 10 years there was a major flood that flooded all of downtown. So by the 1950s, the Army Corps came in and built the chutes. There's 1.5 miles of chutes, I think? 2 miles? 2.5 miles, thank you, of chutes that go through downtown. Plus there's berms over by Knoll Field. That's part of what the Army Corps did. And as you know, in 2011, Irene came through and the chutes were they did not overflow, but they were close to overflowing, and instead they sent all the water down to Williamstown, and they flooded instead of us. But that's what they were designed to do. The useful life of these chutes is about 50 years. So we're about 70 years in now. And as a result, there's panels, you probably may have seen these, that have fallen into the river in 3 different locations: Willowdell, behind the car wash on River Street, and on the Mass MoCA campus. There's many other panels that are leaning in, and we expect that they will fall at some point. And the bottom of the chutes in many places is eroding to the point where you can see the rebar or even the ground underneath. So in 2022, I think it was, we approached the Army Corps of Engineers and said, hey, can you come back and look at these things because they're falling apart, and they, with the help of our federal representatives, come in. With the help of our federal representatives, we got the Army Corps to come in and do a feasibility study. So that was looking at different alternatives to see, given where we are right now, what can be done to, do we want to improve the chutes? Do we want to replace things? What do we want to do? What can we do? That's ongoing now with a final report expected in the fall of this year. Let's see. So we and the city are working together with the Corps, meeting on about a monthly basis, I guess, to discuss, what the progress and what's going on, what the thinking is, what do we want, what do they want, that kind of thing. But meanwhile, while that's going on, we're also looking at, we being Hoosac River Revival, are looking at what can we do alongside the river. So we can do things to make that nice. And Nancy's going to fill you in on that.
So first of all, I want to thank you all for coming. This is great. We're always happy to share good news in city. We want to thank also Andrew and Steeple City for having us and also contributing to our resources by donating to us. And Andrew was great when he did the river float last year. So we all enjoyed, following that trek across the river. And as we know, there's places that we can't access because of the flood control walls and the floors. And our biggest concern, as Kristen said, is the safety of the city. So we are working diligently in concert with the city of North Adams and the Army Corps to try to find a way to make sure that we stabilize and or, prevent or at least be aware of what climate change may or may not influence or do for us. So with that still ongoing, and this is a process that could take a very long time, we are aware of that. And so we have embarked on opportunities around this by our group doing what we are calling placemaking. And in the placemaking group, what we are trying to do is find ways to be able to access the river in more ways than we have been given the opportunity before. This past year in 2025, we hosted several river walks that started up at the north branch of the river up in the Beaver. I don't know if is anybody familiar with where that is?
Beaver Mill?
Yeah? Okay, so it's up Route 8. Off of Route 2, Route 8 goes up into Stanford. That's where the Beaver is. Also, we took them up into Natural Bridge Park. And so the goal of the river walks was to provide an opportunity for our community members to actually join us in seeing what the river has to offer. And so our group started with one session on a Sunday. I can't remember when we started. It might have been July. Yep, July of last year. And once a month, we provided that opportunity where we picked up another section of the river. We've provided a map up here. It's hard to see, but afterwards, we welcome you to come up and take a look at it because we feel that the opportunity that we have here is such a gift that we've been not neglectful of, but we haven't really tapped it as a resource because if anybody is here and our locals know that for all of our lives, those of us that have been here all our lives, it was taboo. You did not go by the river. And if you look at the river, some of the places still have in place not only fencing, but barbed wire on the top of it. How inviting is that? Not so much. So our organization is really committed to trying to make this an opportunity for our community to enjoy the river as best we can with the limitations that we currently have with the cement that's part of it. And that's still being assessed, as Kristen said. And we're hoping that by fall that the Army Corps gives us more information. So when we do the river walks, as I said, we started up in the Beaver and we went down to the South Branch. How many folks have ever walked down to the South Branch? No. Yes, I have a walking group that meets during the good weather, we're on a hiatus right now, like golf is on a hiatus, walking's on a hiatus, whatever else is on a hiatus right now. I would take my walking group down to the South Branch on a Thursday afternoon, and we would walk on the east side of the river, which most people don't think about doing. We always walk on the west side, which is closest to the athletic fields down by Knoll Field, where the Steeplecats play, where there's party in the park on Thursday nights and softball and soccer. The other side of the river has some amazing views from that side, and I encourage anybody to take a walk. At this point in time, there are 2 fences that are up on that berm, and we are working with the city to have them taken down so that the goal for this year is to be able to have a walk that is an actual loop around the river, because it goes all the way down to Hunter Foundry Road if you're on one side or the other, and then you just do a horseshoe and come back the other way. We also, as part of that, held a race last year, and I'll just talk a little bit about that, where we use that part of the river, and we'll talk more about that on upcoming events for this year. My print on my paper is so small. I'm so sorry. It's awful. I think I can't even see it. So we are working right now, after we've done the river walks, we did 5. Now we're doing a focus with placemaking and Hoosic River Revival with the city to work on phase 1 of the Riverwalk, which is going to encompass the South Branch of the Hoosic River. One of the most beautiful, in my view, of what we can access right now. It is so beautiful every season of the year, in my opinion. So we're working on that, and we hope that we are able to come up with some design. We're working on a design right now for marking the river with flags that we had a prototype through our consultants that we worked with through Arcade, which was Tessa Kelly and Chris Parkinson. They developed a flag that we will use in order to mark our way along the river and along the berms, and perhaps be able to utilize that as a historical marker, for example, and provide information. And so we are looking forward to having that. Hopefully we'll be able to have that first leg this year. That's our goal. And so we're working really hard right now with the city as well as with our team to try to do that and develop that by the end of this year. And that's going to take some funding. And we're working on that too. So in that's about all I wanted to cover. On the river walks, there's another part that Kristen's going to talk about next, which is it's called the Hoosic River Atlas. Has anybody ever heard of that? Yes? Yeah. So Kristen's going to jump in and talk about that. This is a very exciting opportunity for our community to actually become engaged with the river through technology. So, Kristen.
Thank you. Okay, so the Hoosic River Atlas is basically an online map with pins dropped on it that contain information about the river or about things along the river. The ultimate idea is that you could be taking this river walk, and then when you're at some place, you could use this atlas to see what happened there or what you might see there, what kind of animals live there, etc. So get your phones out, because I'm going to walk you through this. So go to a search engine, and you want to search for Hoosic River Atlas. And it should look like a map with a green background and a route of the river, along the river. I'll give you a minute or so to.
Do you want me to hold the mic for you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, has everybody got that? Okay. So I will warn you that this is in a beta test mode. Okay? But we can still use it. All right, so on the top, next to the title, Hoosic River Atlas, there's 3 little lines. If you push that, there's about, there's how to use, and there's a little bit, a brief history of North Adams, several paragraphs. So that's one thing. Down at the bottom right, it says there's a little box that says Tools. Does everybody see that? If you hit that, you get at the top, there's a year, historic maps, a year, and a slide bar. The slide bar works if you slide it over to the right, you'll get an old map of the city, and if you zoom out, it's overlaid onto a current map. The year, if you pick the year, that doesn't work. That's part of the beta test thing. Okay, then the pins are in these different categories: Riverwalk, poetry, ecology, etc. So if you tap on one of those, like the chutes, for example, it shows you there's little things, little gray icons will pop up, and if you hit one of those, it'll tell you about maybe a failing wall panel or something like that. Does everybody see how to do that kind of thing? You have questions? Anybody? Okay. You can also add a point if you want, and then you'd pick a category and describe the point if there's something about the river that you know about that wouldn't be there. Like the other day, I added a point about a wall panel that's leaning into the river near Dave's Liquor Store over on Eagle Street.
Can I add one?
Yes, Nancy.
Yeah, so I also was walking around on this, and I thought it was really cool that you can get a history. There's a lot of information there, but I thought it was really neat that you actually get to add a pin to it, and so I did as well. And my interest is hiking, and so I wanted to find out, well, we have the Appalachian Trail here in the city. So I went over to Greylock, and in the Greylock section where the footbridge is, which crosses the Hoosac River. So we, as part of HRR, realized that the Hoosac River is a part of the Appalachian Trail. And so I put a pin on it and dropped it in as a story. But it's an interesting experience to say, hey, you can contribute to this. So, and as we said, it's still in test mode, so we're working on to, fine tune it, but I think it's got lots of activity and lots of potential.
Yeah. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. I think the next thing was about upcoming events that we're going to be working on.
Yeah, so we're really excited to be able to talk a little bit about a joint venture that we're doing with Hurrah in Williamstown, Hoosac River Watershed Association, and Trout Unlimited. Last year we tried to do an event jointly up in the Beaver to be able to have folks come and enjoy Riverfest with us. We got rained out. So it was really disappointing. We had a lot of work and we put everything into it, but it was going to be great and we had it all set up. We're going to plan it again this year. The date is to be announced. It's going to be in May. We have a meeting coming up actually next Tuesday to set the date, but it was really a kind of a comprehensive program that you got a little bit of the river history, the health of the river, and then some recreation with Trout Unlimited. Great organizations all working together to make this river more fun to be a part of our lives. The second thing that's coming up in May, which I alluded to earlier, last year we did a first ever 5K race and a 1-mile walk to benefit Hoosac River Revival. This year we're going to do the same thing on May 2nd of this year. It's a Saturday. We'll be using the same course in the city, and it was my intention to try to bring people to the river, but also connect us to the art that we have at Massmoka. And so we were able to work with the city, Massmoka, and Hoosac River Revival to come up with a route that actually starts at Courtyard A, conveniently outside Bright Ideas, and then travel around the campus, outside of the campus. It's well marked with volunteers and signage, through the campus, through the art, and then out the back entrance down to the south branch and make a complete loop.
Excuse me, I think it's important to mention that the route actually goes into the museum and through and comes out again.
She's right. It goes right through the exhibit of Mary Lum, and then there are several exhibits that you will pass through on the outside. You'll go by James Turrell's Sky Space, the the tubes, I think they're called. I always get it wrong. No, it's pipes. I always get it wrong. The pipes. And then we also go by the other exterior buildings that are outside. So it is kind of neat. And the other thing that's really unique about this route that I found was really cool, we cross only one street in the city. That was quite impressive in my mind because we go through Heritage Park, we go over the little footbridge. It's all well marked and well maintained for us to be able to do that safely. And with, hopefully we'll get a lot of people to come out this year. More information will be coming out. We're just in the beginning planning stages right now, but look forward to hearing more about that. And then again, as Kristen said earlier, in the fall, we will be expecting a full report from the Army Corps of Engineers to the health of where we are, or to where we are with their feasibility study and what does that mean for the city. And we'll be hosting more community events to give you that, get that information out to you. And so that's pretty much what we wanted to chat about tonight, but we certainly are open to conversation. We did bring you some literature that we put up on the counter that you're welcome to help yourself to. We also, there's some magnets up there that happen to be a photograph that I took of the confluence of the North and South Branch, which is right outside Building 6 at Mass MoCA. And if folks didn't know, or I'll share that I learned through Allison Pebworth, the loose translation for Hoosic is the beyond place or the gathering place. And so I thought it was appropriate to have that photograph as a confluence of all of us coming together to make our journey on the river more enjoyable. We also have a volunteer sign-up sheet that we will be happy to take information from folks that may want to sign up to join us for volunteers. We'll be looking for that and looking for more involvement of community as we move forward, actively engaging with our board to bring these programs to fruition. So I want to thank you all for coming, and it's really, it's heartwarming to see such a good group. So thank you so much.
Should we get started with a couple questions?
Yep,
Sure.
Thank you.
of course.
So yeah, a couple questions have been on my mind, and I was hoping to ask you some. So first of all, it's really encouraging to hear. Oh, you can stay here.
I'm good.
It's really encouraging to hear the progress that you've made, and it's really encouraging to hear that the city of North Adams has been working with you. And I really credit the two of you and also the other board members for getting that to happen. I think that's really important that your entity exists to help drive this change and drive this conversation so that our city gets on board, so that other community members get on board. You're driving awareness, you're really driving the whole project, and it's just great to see, so thank you for your leadership with that. One thing that I've been very curious about is, you mentioned city funding, potentially private funding, like figuring out the funding. Have you talked much about state funding? Is that a potential pursuit? And the reason that I'm saying that is because I'm looking at this map over here, and I'm seeing, and the map online and everything as well, and I'm seeing Natural Bridge State Park, and then I'm seeing a bunch of woods where kind of the river walk would go down along the river. And I'm just wondering, have you had a conversation with the park folks or DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation, about potentially expanding Natural Bridge State Park down along the river and kind of getting some of this trail to be built for you by the state? Is that an option?
You want to take it?
Yeah, so I'm the treasurer, so I'm
She's the money girl.
dealing with some of the money. So we have in the past gotten a lot of money from DCR. The state also, or should I say the Commonwealth, also has different grants available. There's a Mass Trails grant that we're looking at. We've also talked about potentially looking to acquire, like we would acquire property and maybe donate it to the state to hook up Natural Bridge State Park to the, down closer to the river. So there's a lot of different things that we've talked about, and there's private grants that support some of this. We're also looking at potentially, is there anything that could be done with some of the, like the roll dams that are in the river? Would that cause any problems if those went away? Because it would enable more like kayaking and that type of stuff.
It sure would.
And there's state funds to remove dams, so that's another possibility. So it really depends on what we end up deciding to prioritize, but yes.
And I also, Andrew, with regard to the dams, I've gotten myself so entrenched in learning more and more and finding out that there is actually a lot of states in the country that are removing some of these dams because similar to the walls and cement, a dam was never built forever. And so we have many here in the city. And so it's important for us to continue that assessment working with the city because they also evaluate them and to make sure that they have the integrity still, that they're still functioning at the integrity that we want them to. And hopefully with some of that money from the state, we've worked with our legislators to help us with that too. Our federal delegation has been very supportive of this project and our locals have been supportive. So we've got a lot of momentum right now. We just need to keep it going downriver. Or actually upriver because it flows north. In case anybody didn't know, it goes north to west, it starts in the south and the north, and then it travels to the west and north out to New York State. So it's pretty cool.
Sorry, just one more question about potential use of the river. River walk, that's brilliant. I think that's great. Getting people used to going down to the river and experiencing the river, seeing the river, getting accustomed to its beauty, and then also potentially using it. So we've talked about fishing and everything, and kayaking and everything. That's where my hopes and dreams lay, especially is with kayaking, because I've kayaked the navigable portions of this river, and there aren't as many navigable portions of this river as I'd like there to be, because you mentioned roll dams, I think you called them.
Yes.
Same thing as a Lowhead Dam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. These are the dams that keep you underwater if you fall over them, right?
Yes.
Like you fall over the edge,
Yes.
you stay submerged.
You can drown.
And you die.
Yes.
So I, of course, like on my track, I think legally speaking, I had to avoid the flood chutes altogether. That was my understanding. So I just played by the rules, and I also, of course, avoided the Lowhead dams because that. But I had to take my kayak out of the river so many times for all of these dams, and not just in North Adams and not just in Massachusetts, but all the way down the river to where it lets out into the Hudson. And so I'm just really encouraged by the work that you folks are doing, and I really do hope that people are going to be able to access this river, because in spite of the fact this river is shallow as heck, like one of the shallowest points that I encountered was at the very mouth of it. That's where there's a bunch of, I don't know what kind of rock it is, but there must be a harder rock there because it's eroded through little channels, but it's like this deep down there. So I was hitting bottom all the time at the mouth of the river, like where it lets out into the Hudson River. It was strange. But most of it is pretty darn shallow. But if you have a kayak, hard shell kayak, or if you have an inflatable kayak, you can kayak in a bunch of different places. And sure, you're going to scrape the bottom in certain places. You take it out, or you just like stand up out of it and you walk it behind you, and then you put it back in again and go again. It's very much usable. And so I really hope that that's a long-term vision for this project as well.
So just to add to that, Andrew, last year we did do a river float, and then we did another, and so we are planning to do another this year. We launched from the Ashton Ave boat launch, and we went to Williamstown, and then we had a second one where we actually went up to Hoosac Falls, and we launched in Hoosac Falls and went up the Hoosac River to a place on just off Route 7 in Hoosac Falls after you cross under the highway. I don't remember if it's a Route 7, I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it's Route 7, the big one up by Stewart's and 346. And so I was surprised at what it looks like back there because it's really different. I mean, when you drive your car, you don't see the river, right? You might see a little bit of it, but when you're in it, it is fabulous. I mean, you get to see some really cool wildlife out there. We've seen it here on our own river. Even at Masmoka, I've seen the great blue heron out there. And we also have one of the best native trout fisheries right on this river to our west in Greylock. People come from all over to go native trout fishing. Like, who knew? So there's lots of life going on, and we just want to make it better, and we want to make it bigger. Yes?
In terms of the thought of having sort of pedestrian areas around the river is really appealing to me, and I think would be appealing to a lot of people. Does the river have? Are there easement issues, or is there a certain from the river's edge or the chute edge? Is there a certain like 10 feet, 15 feet, area that's there that could be at some point with money, with effort, with everything else?
Could you just repeat
put
that?
together
I was
for a
going
while? you know, for like walkways or places?
Yeah, so the question is about, if we, for the purpose of doing walks along the river, what is the situation with land ownership and easements? A lot of the land along the river is city-owned. Okay, so that's not really a problem. There are easements. We've heard different numbers, so it's not clear exactly. I think, is it 10 feet? Is it 15 feet? But I think that's, at least for sure, that's to give the Corps people access to do inspections and that kind of thing. It's not for the public to be walking along. And we don't know how that works if you have a building, say, that's within that distance from the tops of the chutes. So there are a few places where there's private ownership, so that would have to be negotiated with the private owners, but most of it's city-owned. Yes?
So thank you. First, I want to say I moved here about a year and a half ago, so I'm somewhat familiar with your organization, but I admire your perseverance with this because projects like this take forever, and sticking with it can be really hard. So thank you for continuing to do this. I have a comment and a question. Or two questions, but my one thing is, just in the year and a half that I've lived here and I've talked with folks about your organization, something I've heard a few times is a fear of removal of the chutes. And because the narrative has always been the chutes are the really main protection for flooding in the area, and people aren't used to the fact that floodplains actually provide protection. So have you thought about the messaging for that and how to, just because the trails are great. I'm a huge supporter of that, but just understanding that there's this other network of people that may not support it because of a fear.
Yeah, so the question is about, as most people I'm sure have heard, there's concerns that, are we trying to get rid of the chutes and the city's going to flood again? The flood prevention and flood control is number one.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever happens, it's going to stay the same or be improved from what we have now.
Okay.
Okay, and then did you have a question also?
I did have a question. So two questions. So one of them was, Army Corps of Engineers, is the town and the organization responsible for paying for them, or are they providing a service, like a federal government service?
There was the arrangement with the questions about the financial arrangement with the Army Corps of Engineers for their feasibility study. So that was a split between, I don't recall, do you recall the exact percentages? The federal government provided, I forget the amount, a large percentage. The other percentage had to be from a non-federal source. So I believe the city chipped in a little bit, and the state, I believe, chipped in the rest.
Yeah,
so
even more. Yeah.
Even more. So
Okay.
the city did a little bit, the state did more, the feds did the most.
Okay. And one more comment question
Yeah.
is, I'm blanking on the organization, but there's a nationwide organization that focuses on taking dams out. And I'm wondering if you all have connected with them or even connected with other areas that have done something similar to what you're doing.
You want to take that one? Sure.
So this is,
Repeat the question.
oh yes, so with regard to the question about the dams and if we've connected with an organization that's national, right now one of our board members has been involved with the feasibility study, and he is looking more into how and who and when and where. So there's so many moving parts to this system in particular because it is a flood management system. So anything that we do with regard to the dams have to go with, or has to work with the current system that we have. So we are investigating that. We know that there's funding available at the state level for dam removal in the state. I know that Vermont, I just read this yesterday or the day before, Vermont has just removed another dam in the state. So it's happening across the country. So we are very encouraged by that because a dam, as much as a flood system that we have, has a life expectancy, not unlike human. You're welcome.
Other questions? Yes, in the back. Yes, no, you, yeah.
Does or can the plans for developing the Riverwalk or anything else along the right side of the river include bike paths, especially that would connect to either the Williamstown bike path or Asheville?
Do you know the answer to that? The question is about, are we thinking about connecting the Riverwalk with the bike path that goes to Williamstown and down to Adams and so forth?
So right now, as you know, Tourist has been working on a bike trail, right? The adventure trail, which a lot of that is actually going to coincide with where the berms are on the South Branch. And so the question about whether we could connect with them is a good one, because to get across the river, right, especially in the West End, if you're traveling on one side or the other, you've got to cross the highway or you've got to cross the river. So I do believe that we have worked in conversation with the folks that are doing the adventure trail to see what pieces can we do together and what does that look like. So it's still in conversation, and we are working to try to work on a vision, if you will, of not only pedestrian but also bike path and more user-friendly commuting around the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great question. Anybody else?
Yes, sir.
So I get that your primary concern is flood control, and I appreciate that, right? So, because I know the city has had a long history of flooding. But, you know, flood control can be done in a lot of different ways. So for me, I'm a biologist, and my primary interest is in the restoration of the riverbed to basically, what we have now is we have two rivers. So the North Branch and the Main Branch are separated. They're completely different rivers. Life cannot travel between those rivers. So I'm wondering what the priority is of this organization as you're working with the Corps of Engineers. Are we looking to repair what we have, which I am very opposed to, or are we looking to restore the riverbed, which I am very in favor of?
Okay, it's a great question. The question has to do with the biology of the river. It was pointed out that the chutes basically divide the Hoosac River into at least two parts, perhaps three if you're looking at the South Branch, where you have natural sections and then you've got these man-made sections and then you've got more natural sections further down. So what is our priority and what are we looking at with regard to returning nature to the river? So the Army Corps, when we signed up with them for the feasibility study, restoring nature to a place with flood chutes was one of their priorities. But I believe that has now been delisted as a priority for the Army Corps of Engineers because of the recent election of our new president. So there's that, okay? So we're interested in that too, but we are limited by what we can do because the federal government has to approve changes that are inside the chutes. So it's to be determined, I guess, is the best answer I can give you. But it is of interest to us for sure. Do you want to add to that?
I do. I'm with you on that 100%. All of us on the board really, really want to see this a living river. And that's, our push. Unfortunately, we are working with the federal government. They built them and then they said, well, you got to take care of them. So we're asking them, assess them. What can we do different? How can we make this a more living river? And we're not going to let it go. And it's a fight that I know Judy Grinnell, who's the founder of this organization for 18 years, bless her heart, darling, has worked tirelessly over that time to want to get to a point with regard to what you just said, to restore the river to a functional, living river. And we can only do what we can do. If you remove parts of it, you have to rebuild it in order to make it safe for the city. How can we do that and restore the natural habitat and the life around it? And we know there's ways to do it. We have to be able to work with the Corps to try to find that answer. Yeah, great question though. That's where our heart and soul is, you know. Any others? Andrew?
Yeah, if you could you speak a little bit to accessibility challenges with Riverwalk? You know, it's my understanding that if city or maybe even state funds go to a Riverwalk to supporting that maybe it has to be ADA compliant. Is that the case? And how have folks thought about that?
I don't know the answer to. The question is accessibility for the Riverwalk. Does it need to be ADA compliant, especially if we're getting state or federal funding?
So that's a great question, and we were just talking about this last night at our placemaking. I attended the placemaking meeting last night. It's in the conversation pieces about how do we develop a river walk, how do we name it, because if we name it as a wayfinding method, it has to follow the guidelines of what the city has established for wayfinding, which includes ADA compliance. So we are looking at all the options. How can we do that? Where is the easiest place, or not the easiest, but the most accessible? And quite honestly, what we're seeing right now on the South Branch and the berms, if you look at the east and west side, both of them have an incline to get up onto the berm, but it's not a significant one on the west side. East side's a little bit more of a challenge. So we're looking at how can we make that accessible, or do we need to, or how can, can you come in from the other end? Can you come in from, for example, Hunter Foundry Road? That's accessible. So we are considering and are aware of being thoughtful to that, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And two more things if you don't mind. One, people have asked me, what's going on with Adams's flood chutes? I realize that's not part of this project or your focus necessarily, but has the Army Corps of Engineer addressed anything to do with the chutes there? Are they problematic? Do you know anything about that?
I really don't,
Yeah.
Andrew. The question was about whether or not Adams shoots or their system is functional and viable. I don't know if they've been evaluated by the Corps.
Okay, thank you.
But we have recently talked about the possibility of extending our interest into Adams from North Adams. In fact, just tonight, we met with a fellow from Adams,
Okay.
and we'll be in continued conversation with him about that, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. The reason I ask is the flood chutes in downtown Adams look just like the flood chutes in downtown North Adams. I don't know if they were built the same year or not. They look like they were. So
I
was
believe
curious about it.
that the chutes there were built at approximately the same time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
My last question was, and to open other questions too, just what can each audience member do to support this cause if they want to support this cause?
I knew she was going to do that. So what can people do to support us? There's many things that we can do. Number one is donate to us. That's a good one, because we are continuing to use those funds to do our work, to move forward in developing river walks or accessibility, signage, whatever that might be. Yes, we have access to grant money, but that's not always enough. We've hired, technical teams that, like Arcade and also Limnotech was a firm that assessed the viability of the chutes along with the Corps. So it does take money, but more importantly, in my mind, is always more bodies. We need bodies. We need humans. It's a lot of work as a board member to seek out volunteers. And we are diligently building that core right now to try to make it stronger, because with a strong body of volunteers and people that are committed to seeing a change and to see something better, that's where the answers are, in my mind. And also, supportive of, the events that we host. Those are the things that help drive us. When we have an event and we have a lot of folks that come, it's so rewarding just to see the faces. Young, old, and anything in between. It's really great to see the participation. So those are the three that I see.
Yeah, there was another question here.
Yeah, I was just wondering if the Lowhead dams have the same age as the chutes, or if they were built at this different time. My understanding is Lowhead dams are built for the mills. When the mills were active, they
They're-
it's called Lowhead dams because they're building ahead so that they can get power.
Yeah, there were lots of things, there were actually walls and stuff of some sort built for the mills and Lowhead dams and stuff, but what we're talking about now, what's there now, was built at the same time as the chutes. Yes?
I wanted to ask if the river is polluted at all, and if that is something that needs to be thought about.
It is something to be thought about. I don't know the answer. Hoorah actually works
I
on
can
that,
answer that.
whether the river is polluted. They're definitely polluted,
Not
like
the
we're
fish
hearing.
of the river.
Like both Superfund polluted and
It
or
is Superfund polluted. So spray polluted the river, and it's still polluted. So I work for Williams College. I manage the Science Center of Williams College. And there are a number of research projects that go on a regular basis with the students where they go on and collect samples and test it for PCBs.
Yeah, so what we're hearing is that from a worker at Williams College Science Center, that the river is definitely polluted. Okay. Right.
And also the ongoing assessments, and Williams College has been a great partner with being able to assess what is in the river in some way, right? I mean, we also are monitoring with Hoorah the water temperatures to try to see where are they hot, you know, and that's an important part of it all too. And the interesting thing that I found, surprised me, is the hottest part of the river is actually down on the South Branch, where it has a natural bottom, but there is no shade to the river. So I found that very interesting. I would have thought that it would have been hotter in the cement wall or cement chutes. Who knew? Anybody else?
Other questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
two.
you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.